Go. Welcome to the channel, guys. My name is Matthew, and today we're going for a run at a conversation pace. We're going to talk about how you are who you say you are. We're going to talk about that in a positive light. We're going to talk about that in a negative light. Start with positive. Many people have read this book, Atomic Habits. This is kind of an idea. It's a notion popularized in that book. Go read it. It's a good start to understanding your thought patterns. And in this book, the general gist, the general point I'm trying to make and, bring up is you call yourself something, be it bad at math or a procrastinator. You define yourself in a certain way, then that's who you will be. So let's take it a step further. That was kind of the negative light. I believe every person, man or woman, should have someone, a version of themselves, or someone else they aspire to be like. Jesus Christ, I'm a Catholic, by the way. Jesus Christ is what every man should strive to be for. A lot of people don't know that. He's the Son of God, but he did things in human form. The good he did is completely attainable. You can become like Jesus Christ. Okay? But let's pick someone else for a more interesting point. This is not a religious channel in its entirety, although it is important to my thought process. For me, I like Sylvester Stallone. There's a few reasons I like Stallone. Or someone who is very important to me says Stallone. Love the Rocky caricature. Rocky caricature is, the persona is based off Stallone. It's based off of him at a weak point. He was poor. He didn't have a ton going for him. But he had a passion and he bet on himself. Kind of reminds me of myself at this moment. Just making that connection now, actually. But Stallone is great because I think he looks a little bit like me. I may be too complimentary, but I like to, have a realistic person to aspire to be. So we both got this kind of Mediterranean look to us. Maybe he's Italian, I'm not too sure. That's where most of my genetic background is from. And so I aspire to be like Rocky, that version of Stallone that's Rocky, but also the real life Stallone. He's very principled, okay? He's not in all this Hollywood scandals. He's very much a family man. He's got a beautiful wife and 3 beautiful daughters. He's someone you want to aspire to be. So if you tell yourself, I'm like Sylvester Stallone, eventually you'll start to notice yourself looking more and more, behaving more and more like Sylvester Stallone. Now let's talk about something that a lot of people do. I've seen it, especially men. It's a little more on the negative side. Just as if you call yourself something good or bad, the world, the atoms of the universe, the lattice, the matrix, whatever you want to call it, if you believe in these things, I certainly do, will rearrange itself to make what you say true. Something I see a lot of people do outside of the I'm bad at math, I'm a procrastinator, which I'm not saying about myself, I'm using these as examples, is people saying things that they don't necessarily mean for attention. For example, maybe you're like 16 right now, or maybe you're 22 like myself, you just graduated college, or you're 26. You're a little further along in life than I am. You might know these guys, these kids who will say things racist or misogynistic for attention, for a laugh. We get it. I get it, right? Everyone wants to chip in socially, get some social credit. But eventually people start to lose sense of who they really are. I know an old man who went down this path when he was about my age. He's like 80 now. He never lost it. He never lost this off-putting character trait or thing he would say because it became so ingrained in him that he forgot who he was. So I would encourage you to be very particular about what it is you say about yourself and what it is that you let come out of your mouth that can define your person and also your subconscious. How we doing, Droney? That was a nice little talk. Let's keep going. Here's another example. This one's kind of funky. Look at me. You look at me, you're like, all right, this guy's got a runner's build. Maybe some people think he's muscular, maybe some people don't. Depends on perspective. I say to myself, when I eat my diet, I literally say this out loud, rearranging the atoms in the universe, creating my reality. I'll chug a glass of milk. I'll scoop my creatine. I'll chuck some eggs. Gullet them. You know how I do it. And I'll say out loud, my diet is the equivalent of anabolic steroids that are creating the most physically fit and mentally healthy specimen that has ever existed. My body, through my nutrition, through my care for myself, in all forms, is rearranging itself, right? You're made up of matter, is rearranging itself to be the most aesthetic, functional, and highly operative mass as God intended and according to God's will. And ever since I started saying that, I started to get leaner, started to get more muscular, started to like my body more, started to like my mind more, felt closer to God, and really understood who we are as God's creation. I'll talk on this in another video. We're approaching a cemetery right now. You have to appreciate death. Because the temporary nature of our life is what gives it meaning, is what gives space for this kind of conversation, is what is the only reason why anyone would try to improve themselves. So death is a blessing. And if you can think about who you want to be and describe yourself in such a way that you say, hey, I'm so-and-so, and at 80 years old, this is what I have. And you work backward from that. You really understand who you are. You're going to have a successful life. There's a lot of people here who didn't have that kind of introspection. May God rest their souls in peace. And I hope you don't have that same fate. God bless.